Alright, today I just wanted to show you a little bit of structure with code, creating classes inside of Gamemaker. So the first thing we're going to do, let's just create a sprite, and we'll call this sprite player. And I'm just going to leave it with full sprite and player. You can center, I don't. It's just personal preference. As long as you know how it's going to be handled, it doesn't really matter. For me, it's starting top and left, and then it goes to the right and down. So when I put something, let's say I put it right here, it's right in this area that it's going to show. It's not going to be a box around the area. So if it was like, let's say right here, rather than be right in the middle by centering it, it'll just load it like this. And again, that's personal preference. You just got to know, you're doing that. Object player. We're going to just create a object. Persistent, you want to check that because you want it to last through every room. And that's what that does. It means every time you go to a new room, this object stays. This object is persistent across all rooms. Okay, for now we're just going to exit out of there. We're going to create a group. And we're going to call this group player classes. We're going to right click and create an object, and we're going to name it class health. We're going to add an event, a create event, and a step event, and just for now, just throw a piece of code in here and just write anything in here. It can just be that, just 3 lines if you want. We just don't want it to delete this, those 2 steps when we reopen it, which sometimes happens if you don't have anything written. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to come to the object player class and we're going to inherit from the class health. Now we need to get a create event in here. Pull over code, do this, step event, code, and another little comment. Now I'm going to explain this before I start actually getting into this and how this works. So the object player can be seen just like this as the bottom part. Then its parent is class health, so it inherits everything from this class. Now if we had another class on top of it, it would go here, and it would be this one's grandparent and this one's parent. And we can call any variable we put in the top, the upper ones, we can call from the bottom ones. So anything we put in class health variables, we can call from object player. However, if we were to put a variable in object player and try and call it from class health, when it first tries to initialize the object, it's not going to know what the variable is because we currently have it inside the object player. But when it's initializing, it starts from the top and goes down. So if I try and call a variable that's in object player in my class health, it's not going to work. You're going to get errors. So you can only call the variables you set up from something below it. So you can call from a child of a parent, you can call its grandparent, its great-grandparent, but from the grandparent you can't call any of the children. I hope that helps explain that portion of it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the object player, go to the create event, and we're just going to get variables. And how we do that event inherited. So what the event inherited does means that we're going to inherit from the parent. Now we need to do this. Get conditions and event inherited. Now we have it in the object player, but now let's say we want to add another class. We'll call this one class damage, and I'm going to delete this relatively shortly, this class damage. This is just to show you how we would grandparent in another class. So what we would do is we can see that in the object player it goes to class health, so it inherits from that. And you can see in the class health that its child is object player, but it doesn't have a parent yet. So let's take this and give it a parent of class damage. So now class health inherits from class damage, and the object player inherits from class health. So anything above it from the father and grandfather of the object player can use. I hope that helps explain that a little bit and why we do this. And then what we would do is, if we just added another class, and actually whenever you create a class, because you know that there's going to be more above it, what you should do is you should already have the event inherited. And this is what allows the class health now to inherit from class damage. If I didn't have this, I wouldn't be able to access anything in class damage. So I'm going to add this to class health, even though I'm going to delete class damage. And this is class health, even though that's highlighted. It's just, and I'm just going to take off parent for now. I was just using class damage to show you how that works. So I'm going to delete this one, and we're back to our object player and our class health. So object player is a child of class health, and we're good. So let's go into the class health, and always make sure your event inherited is at the top. You can have a comment above it, but you want the event inherited at the very top, other than comments. So this is class health. So what should we have in here? Well, we might want a HP variable. HP equals 0. HP multiplier equals, oh, well, why would I want my HP to equal 0? Let's set it at 3. And let's give our default multiplier of 1. Now, the reason we do this is because if it's truly a HP multiplier, the result will be the formula for finding your HP to use for your player would be HP times HP multiplier. Now, if we set HP multiplier to 0, then it doesn't matter what HP number is, it's always just going to be 0 until the HP multiplier changes. And if the HP is 0, then your character is probably self-destructing if you have that it set to destruct at that point. So the other thing is, we should call this base HP. We should create an HP variable equal to 0. It doesn't really matter what it's equal to, and I'm just going to set it to 1, just in case for later when we have the destruct variable that checks on the player's HP. which you should have in your games. Well, most of them should have some form of that. So what we're going to do right now is go into our scripts. We're going to call this script calc health. Just script calculate health. And what we're going to do is we're going to do object player dot HP equals object player dot base HP times object player dot HP multiplier. Let's just double check that I use the right variables. And I did. Okay. So let's say every time you level up, maybe your base HP goes up by 1, and maybe your HP multiplier goes up by like 0.1 or something. Well, that's good enough, but to show that this is working, what I really want to do is I want to change this multiplier to 2 right now, because I don't have a leveling system in. Just so what we'll end up seeing, I'm going to create a GUI that will display just the HP and its value, and it's not going to be 1, it's going to be this value. So we need to call the script. Now, when we're setting the script to calculate the health, well, we can do that right now inside the create event of this class. We can do script execute script calc health. Now, the only other time we'd want to run this is when one of these values changes. So run script calc health if base HP or HP multiplier changes. But for now, since it's not changing, we can put it here. If it was based off of a change, depending on the change, it would be in the step event or create event of the other piece, but most likely in the step event of some sort of leveling system. So now we run the script, and this, one more thing, this just has to be on the bottom. This has to be below this. Again, if I were to put this above this, it'd be like, alright, I'm going to run this script. Wait a second, where am I getting the HP from? Where's the base HP? Because it hasn't actually initialized it yet, because the way that programming works, it reads it from top to bottom. So it's going to inherit from everything above it, then it's going to set HP to 1, then it's going to do base HP equals 3, then HP multiplier equals 2, then it's going to run the script. If I put the script up here, it's going to try and run the script, but it's not going to get these values yet, because it doesn't have them. At least it shouldn't work. I'm going to double check it afterwards, just to get confirmation on it. I'm 99% sure that it won't work, but I will put another one there once I create the GUI layer. Now, for this, I'm just going to create the GUI in the object player. However, if I was, you know what? I'm just going to show you actually how you would add a class. Class health GUI. Now, its parent would be class health, and I'll explain why in a second. And we want to change the object player's parent over to health GUI. So the reason that we put the health GUI below class health instead of, if you remember the damage, we put it after class health, is because this is going to contain something that class health doesn't contain, and that's a draw GUI event. So when it inherits in the create and step. Otherwise, what I would have to do if I put this all the way up above, if I put this above class health, I'd have to go into class health and create a draw GUI event to inherit it all the way down to my object player, because you need to have a straight line through. So if like I have a create event and let's say the grandfather has a create event, right? And in that create event it has variable whatever. In the parents class, it doesn't have a create event, so it doesn't get to inherit it. So then in the object player, even though it's inheriting in the object player create event, it won't have anything to inherit to from the class above it, the parent class, if there is no create event. So it won't get any of the create events above that either. It needs to follow it down. So again, if the grandparent has a create event or a step event, then and is for any sort of event that the class below it doesn't have, then the classes below that will never have those inside of them. It needs to carry all the way through. So you generally want the uppermost class to have the least amount of items. That way you're not just carrying draw GUI for no reason all the way through the whole thing. So it should go from the least amount of things to the most at the bottom that you're inheriting from. So in the draw GUI event, I'm just going to create a code, event inherited in the object player anyway. Just remember, because he has to inherit from above. So in the health GUI, I'm going to go to the draw GUI code. Now because there's nothing above it with the GUI, I don't need event inherited. When you make it, you should put it in anyway, because you're likely going to have a GUI above or below it depending. I'm not, I don't need it. Or draw text, and all this is going to do, it's just going to show that my object is successfully calling to the script, and it's altering the value appropriately. If this is the case, it won't show 1. Instead, the number it will show should be 3 times 2, which will be 6. Now we're just going to create a room. We're going to place the object inside of the room. And I was going to just have it be a sprite associated with it. So might as well just create just a circle will work for now. Let's save, let's run, and we should see 6 on the 100 by 100 portion of the screen, somewhere around here. Yep, 6. So now, to make sure that it's working, why don't we do this? Why don't we go into our class health? Let's change this value to 4. Now what we should see 8. Now the reason, and I think I covered this, but the reason that I created this HP and this base HP is if you're constantly running the script calc health, if you don't have a base HP, if let's say you only used, let's comment base HP out, and let's say instead you used HP equals 1, right, and then HP multiplier equals 2. Anytime you ran the script calculate health, it just continuously multiply. So if HP equals 1, HP multiplier equals 2, if you ran this script calc health, it'd go 2 the first time. The next time, because it'll set HP to 2, it'll be 2 times 2, which will then go to 4. And then HP will be worth 4. Then the script is run again, all of a sudden it's worth this, which isn't quite what we want. So we want to set that base HP. Now the other thing I want to show is just that if I move this up, we should get an error, because it shouldn't be able to access the variables yet. See, not set before reading it. So that's just a common error you can get when it's misplaced. I think that covers everything I wanted to cover other than a quick overview. So what this does is it makes it very easy to separate your classes to understand where each piece is. So in class health is health related variables and the execution of the script calculate health. So if we actually want to change how the formula works, we'd go to script calculate health. If we want to change the variables, we'd go to class health. If we want to change how the GUI is displayed, we'd go to class health GUI. Thanks for watching. Hope this helped. Peace.